Right, here we go. First one is straightforward addition sum. You could, if you wanted, work it out. 199 add 54. What's 9 add 4?
13.
What's 9 add 5 add 1?
15.
What's 1 add 1?
2.
That gives you your answer 253. There is another way of doing it because it's 199. Add 54. It'd be a lot easier if that 199 was 200. So we can take off 1 off the 54 to leave 53. So 200 add 53 is 253. Straightforward, nice, easy one to start. Swimming lesson starts at 20 past 2. You can see the 20 past 2 on the first clock here. Swimming lesson finishes at 5 to 3 there. So as Louis just said, we can count up in fives from where it starts. Don't forget, on your test you can do this. Draw on your test paper. It's easy, it's fine. There's no rules against it. So now we're going to go 5. We're going to count up in fives from this point here all the way to this point here. We ready? Ready to count up in fives? Go.
5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35.
What's the answer?
35 minutes.
35 minutes. Circle a number below that is in both the 4 times table and the 6 times table. So as you can see, it's going up in 4. So 16, 20, 24, 28, 32. So they're all in the 4s. All we got to work out now is which is in the 6s. If you wanted to, you could write out the 6s. 6, 12, 18, 24, 30, 36. You could write that out below, and then you can easily spot that the one number is which one?
24.
24. And you get your little pencil and you circle 24. Job done, easy peasy. Right, fractions of quantities. So a 7th of 14 equals 2. So and then it's asking what 3/7 of 14 is. So if you imagine, oh, that's the wrong drawing. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And you had 14 sweets. These are hands. Those little blue circles are hands. We're going to give out 14 sweets. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. How many have they got each at the minute? 2. So they've got 2 each there. Alright, so we've had 14 sweets. We've divided it into 7. So now it's saying 3/7. So how many are there in 3 hands altogether? How many sweets are there inside there altogether? 6. That is the answer. And the next one is 90 divided by 10. So this is multiplying and divided by 10. We did this just before the Easter holidays. So the first one is 90. And I'm going to put the decimal point in. Divided by 10. If a number is getting divided, is it getting bigger or smaller? Smaller. Is the decimal point going to go to the left or to the right? Left. It's going to go to the left. The number's going to get smaller. Okay? So, that decimal point is going to move from after the 0 to before the 0. Boop. There. So the number will now look like that. Understand? So the answer is 9. Good stuff. On to the next one. 4.3 multiplied by 100. If the number's getting multiplied, is it getting bigger or smaller?
Bigger.
So is the decimal point going to move to the left or move to the right?
Right.
It is going to move to the right this time. So 4.3. How many spaces is it going to move?
2.
Why is it 2?
Because it's 100.
It's 100. There's 2 zeros here, so we're going to go up 1, 2 spaces to the left. So now the number's going to look like 4, 3, and a decimal point's going to be there. What's going to go in the gap?
0.
0. The 0 is going to be pulled up. What's the answer?
430.
Right, here are four number cards. 7, 5, 8, and 6. Use 3 of the cards to make the smallest number possible. So we've got the smallest number possible, 3 cards, so it's going to be hundreds, tens, and units. If you want to make the smallest number possible, which has got the most value there, hundreds, tens, or units? Hundreds, the hundreds one. So if it's the smallest number possible, you want the smallest number in the hundreds. So what's the smallest number there? 5. So you're going to put 5 in there. Then you want the next smallest number, which is... And then the next smallest number? 7. So 5, 6, 7 should go there. Use all 4 of the cards to make the biggest even number possible. Is the next question. Use all 4 cards to make the biggest even number possible. So if it's the biggest number possible, you're going to start with the biggest number. What's the biggest number? 8. What's the next biggest number?
7.
What's the next biggest number? What's the next biggest number? What's the problem with that answer? It's odd. Good. How are you going to make it even, but still make it big? Switch 5 and 6. Good. You're going to switch these two round. So what is it? 8, 7, 5, 6. That one should go there. That's good. Your answer. Right, next one is meters. We've got the height of a big elephant there, 4.1 meters. And the height of the smaller elephant over here, height is 2.9 meters. What is the difference in height between these two elephants? If it's asking what the difference is, what sum do you need to do to work out the difference? Daniel?
The difference is 1.2 meters.
Okay, what's the sum though? If it's asking for the difference?
4.1 meters take away 2.9 meters.
There you go, take away 2.9 meters. So again, if I was you, if this was my test paper, I'd be writing this here. I'd be using that space. And it would say 4.1 take away 2.9. Can we do 1 take away 9? No, what do we need to do? Borrow from the 4, so we borrowed 1 there, so it's down to 3. That becomes 11. 11 take away 9? 3 take away 2? What's the answer?
1.2.
Easy peasy. Next one. Now write the difference in centimetres. So you've got 1.2 metres. 1.2 metres. How many centimetres are there in a metre?
100.
100. So there's 100 centimetres equals 1 metre. We've got 1.2 metres. How many centimetres are there in 1.2 metres?
120.
120. 120. Right, nice easy column additions. Getting mixed up. 3, 4, 7 plus 2, 8, 3. Flip that round to make it easier to do, so you put it underneath. So now you've got a nice easy column addition, which we're used to doing. What's 7 add 3?
10.
You put the 0 there and the 1 there, you carry it. 4 add 8 add 1.
13.
3 add 2 add 1.
6.
Answer?
630.
30. And then a subtraction, and again set it up like a column one that you're used to doing. 460 take away 167. And again, can we do 0 take away 7?
No.
What do we have to do?
Borrow from that.
Go and borrow from here. This looks like it's going to be a double borrow. 10 take away 7. 5 take away 6. Can we do it?
No.
Borrow from the 4. 15 take away 6.
9.
3 take away 1. Pardon? 2. 293 goes in here. Job done. This rectangle is on a centimetre square grid. Write the coordinates of the point marked A. So with coordinates, we always go which way first?
Right.
Across first, then up. Okay? And it's asking you where is point A. So which number is it in line with on the x-axis? 3. So the first number is 3. And what number is it in line with on the y-axis? 4. Easy peasy. What is the area of the rectangle? When you're working out area, what you can do is just count the squares. So obviously they haven't filled in the squares, but you could. Nothing's stopping you doing that. And now easy peasy, we're just going to count them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Job done. Was that hard? No. 6 centimetres squared. Next one is a conversion one. Conversion question. 7,000 metres equals how many kilometres? How many metres are there in a kilometre? 1,000. So 1,000, again, you could be writing this, equals 1 kilometre. How many thousands have we got? 7. So how many kilometres have we got?
7.
Was that hard?
No.
Right, getting a little bit trickier now. 1/4 of 900. What you need to think about in your head is a quarter being a half of a half. Yeah? So you've got a quarter there. Can you imagine 900? Okay, so you've got 900. If you halved it, if you split it in half, what would your answer be? 450. So you've got 450 in like half, like that. And then you want half again to work out what the quarter is. So if we halve 450 again, what's that? What's half of 450? 225. That's the easiest way of doing that one. Joe gets home from school at 4:08 p.m. He left school 28 minutes earlier. What time did he leave school? So in your heads, or if you really, really wanted to, you could draw a clock. And he got home at 4:08, so it'd be about there. And it would be pointing at the 8. And he left school 28 minutes earlier, so you need to go back 28 minutes. So if you go back 8, you're on, what time would you be if it was 8 minutes before that? Pardon? Look, no. 4:08. It's saying 28 minutes earlier, so you're going back 28. What time was it 8 minutes ago? 4 p.m, wasn't it? Yeah, and you've taken off the 8. So now you're going to take 20, which brings you around to here. So if you've taken off 20 minutes, so what's 20 minutes before 4 p.m? 3:40, good. It is 3:40 or 20 to 4. 3:40. Let's record. Write the number that is halfway between 3.6 and 3.7. So imagine on a number line. You've got 3.6 here, 3.7 there. Okay, so this one here, what would that one be? 3.61. What would this one be? What would this one be? That one? 6.4. So what would this one be? 3.65. This one? This one? And then this one.
57.
Okay. Everyone understand? Yeah, you sure? A little bit tricky, but 3.65. Becca has £20. She buys a game for £7.99 and a book for £6.50. How much money is left? Now, what does this mean? Show your workings. In other words, you can get points even if you get it wrong. Alright, because it's giving you 2 points there. You can actually get points if you get it wrong, if you show good workings. So the first thing we need to work out is work out how much you spent. So how do we do that? Right, go on then. Excuse me. What's the numbers?
7.99.
Yeah.
6.50.
6.50, and that will be what she has spent. What's 9 add 0? 9 add 5.
14.
7 add 6 add 1.
14.
14. So there is what she's spent. And what did she pay with? £20 note, or just £20? We don't know, it's a note. So that is 20.00. Take away what she spent, 14.49. Lots of zeros mean it's quite a tricky little takeaway. 0 takeaway 9 we can't do. There's nothing to borrow from next door. There's nothing to borrow from that next door, so we have to go all the way to here, all the way to the 2. So now that becomes a 1 and that becomes a 10. We can now borrow from that. That becomes a 9. That becomes a 1. And then we can borrow from that 9 to give that one the 1 it needs. 10 take away 9. 9 take away 4. 9 take away 4 again. 1 take away 1. 0. What's the answer? £5.51. Cool. Right, rounding to the nearest 10, we've got a ship height of 57.3. So which two tens is that between?
50 and 60.
It's between 50 and 60. So if that was 50 and 60, that would be 55, 51, 52, 53, 54, 55, 56, 57, 58, 59, 60. And if we had 57.3, it would be sitting about there. Which 10 is that closer to?
60.
It's quite obviously closer to 60, which means 60 should go in here. 60 meters. Right, this one takes a little bit of thinking. So we've got 90 babies were born in a hospital. Half of them were boys. So let's answer it bit by bit. If half of them are boys, how many boys have we got?
45.
45. Dodgy 4, but it does say 45. If 20 boys, so 20 boys weigh less than 3 kilograms, okay, so you can see that 20 there, all the boys are going to be in this column. So the total of boys, which is what?
45.
Must be the total of these two boxes. You can only put boys in this side, girls in this side, okay? So if the boys are going in this side and we've got a total of 45, we've already got 20 in there, what number must go below that? 25, good. So we can put that one in there now. And then it says 50 babies weighed less than 3 kilograms. So going across this row now, we know this total to be 50. That's what it's just told us. Those two numbers will be 50. So what number must go in the first girls box? 30. What's the total of babies again?
90.
Half of them are boys, which means half of them are girls. Yeah? So how many girls total have we got?
45.
45. So the total of these two boxes is 45. So if the total of those two boxes is 45, what must the number missing be?
15.
15. And don't forget, when it comes to doing the test, if you need to write stuff like this on here, go for it. Alright? Don't think to yourself, all this information at the top here has to stay in your head. It doesn't. Alright? Write stuff down, scribble on it. Do what I've done. Put 45 next to there. Put 50 next to here. Put a sum to make 45 there. Whatever you need to do. So there's the answers. You should have 30 there, 15 there, 25 there. Highlight this if you got it wrong. Right, next one's about a fridge freezer. They pretty much always put a question in like this, which takes you kind of from 0 to beyond. So if we have 0 here, we've got a fridge temperature is 5 degrees over here, which is in the plus, 5 degrees C. And we've got a freezer temperature of minus 18 over here. And what it's saying is, how much warmer is the fridge to the freezer? So what you've basically got to do, you've got to count up to 0. How many degrees is it between minus 18 and 0? How many degrees is that jump? How big is that jump? 18. It's 18, isn't it? Okay, so you've got 18 degrees to go from minus 18 to 0. And then you've got how many to go from there to there? 5. So the sum is 18 plus 5. What's the answer? 23. So it's 23. Highlight in the circle if you got it wrong. Right, next one. There are 5 20p coins in £1. Work out how many 20p coins there are in £135. Goodness me. So what is the actual sum if you think about it?
5 times 135.
It is, yeah, because you've got 5 in every pound and you've got 135. So the actual sum is 135 multiplied by 5. There's a couple of different ways you can do this. You can either do it like a long multiplication or a multiplication sum. So you go 5 times 5 is 25, carry the 2. 3 times 5 is
15.
add the 2.
17.
And then 1 times 5 is
5.
add the 1,
6.
6. Okay? That gets you there one way. Another way of doing it would be 135 times 5 equals 100 times 5. What's the answer? 500. 30 times 5. 30 times 5. 3 times 5. 150. And 5 times 5. 25. And then add them all up. And you go 0, 0, 5 is 5. 5 add 2 is 7. 5 add 1 is 6. One little other way of doing it, I'll just shrink it down so we've got enough room. 135 times 5 is the same as doing 135 times by 10 and then halving it. So you've got 1350 and then you halve it. So some people are better than others at halving it. You might know that 600 is half of 1200. And then you've got 150 left, and 75 is half of that. So you might be able to work it out that way. So you've got 3 different ways of working it out. That way, and this way. But the answer, 675 20p coins. Right, a missing number question. Again, this is something that they'll throw at you, definitely. Right, so 208 divided by something equals 52. Now what you need to do to work out these sums is read them differently. You need to put the equal sign somewhere else. Okay? Or you need to put it in a different way. If we're going that way through the sum, and it's divide by, if we go the opposite way through the sum, what has this got to change to? What's the opposite of divide? Times, good. So if we did it the opposite way, it would be 52 times by something equals 208. So in other words, if you count up in 52s, how many times will you have to count up in 52s until you land on 208?
4.
Brilliant. So 52. What's the next? What would next be next?
104.
104. What would be next?
156.
156. And what would be next?
208.
208. Good. What you might do, you see, is you might get to 104 and realise that that's actually half of it. You get it? And you're on your second number there, so you can realise then that the answer is going to be 4. Pretty much give you a data handling question, and here is the one. So there we've got a bit of a line graph. Well, it's not a line graph, it's a bar chart really, with these lines showing us the number of shoe sizes in a class, at a club even. How many children have a shoe size 4 or more? So it's not asking you for 4, it's asking you for 4 or more. There's 4. Is 4.5 more?
Yeah.
Is 5 more?
Yes.
What do you have to do then?
Add all the numbers.
Add all the numbers up. Good. So now we have to read across. So we're going to read across the 4 one first, and the 4 one finishes there. What number goes between 12 and 14?
13.
13. So if I was you, I'd write 13 on the top of there. Another dodgy number. That doesn't look like a 3. What's going on with this pen? Right. Reading up the 4.5. I'm looking now across this line. This one's easy because it's on the line. What number we got?
10.
10. And then this one is another one in the middle of 6 and 8. 7. So now we've got 13, 10 and 7. Added up equals 30. What is the range of the children's shoe sizes? So we've done mode, median and range. So the range goes between the smallest and the biggest. What's the smallest?
3.
And what's the biggest?
5.
So the range is the difference between these two numbers. So that to work out the difference, we do a takeaway sum. 5 take away 3 equals 2. Circle the correct answer. It says, oh wait there, I can't even see what it says. Let me move it down. Oh, it only says cost. I thought there was stuff above it. Right, it says the cost, 3 packs for £8.25. What do 9 packs cost? So if 3 cost £8.25, what are you going to do to the £8.25 to work out what 9 costs?
Times it by 3.
Times it by 3. Good, because 3 lots of 3 is 9. Okay, so you're going to do 3 times £8.25. So again, whatever workings you want to do it underneath or do it around it. You've got £8.25 multiplied by 3. You could do it the normal way, which is 5 times 3 equals 15, carry the 1. 2 times 3 is 6, add the 1 is 7. And then 8 times 3 is 24, 24.75. Okay? Or you might do the 8 first, and you think, right, 8 times 3 is 24. And then 3 times 25 is 75. Whichever way you do it, the answer is £24.75p. Right, this one's about equivalence between fractions and decimals. So which fractions are the same as which decimals? So first one you've got is a half equals 0.5. Okay, so in the decimals column, the whole is 1, as it is in the fractions column, really. But this one comes down like the decimals, as in 0 point something. Alright, so if you think of it as 100, which is always a little bit easier in your mind, if you just go with the first one, which is a half, and you had 100 split into 2, how many would be in each side? 50. Alright, and then because it is 1 rather than 100, all you do is you put a decimal point in front of the 5 with a 0, and you've got the answer 0.5. Okay? Understand doing it that way? Okay, so if we were going now for 0.25, you've got 100 and you're going to split it up into 25s, how many times can you split 100 up into 25s? 4. So it's going to go into 4 groups like this. And then what fraction does that look like? Quarters. Good. So that would go a quarter there. Alright? And then if you've got 25 in 1 quarter, and now it's asking you for 3 quarters, how many have you got in 3 quarters? 75. So what's the answer? 0.75. Good. The last one is always the tricky one. Alright? The last one is always the tricky one, and this one is a little bit tricky. You've got 0.1. Okay? If we were going to count up in 0.1s, let's just shrink this a little bit. Come back big. Stay there. If we were going to count up in 0.1, so you got 0.1. What's the next one? Next. Do you get the idea? How many jumps would there be to get to 10, to get to 1? 10. There'd be 10 jumps. Okay? Yeah, there would be 10 jumps. So in other words, there would be 10 groups. Like that. And then what fraction would it be if you've got 10 groups? 1/10. Good. 1/10. It's always the tricky one, that one. And it would more or less guarantee to throw it at you. So I've just made it bigger just so you can just check your answers. And then highlight in these boxes here over to the side if you've got, I think, half of it. Yeah, it's in 2 halves. So if you've got these 2 right, no. Which one are we doing? Yeah, I think you've got to get 2 right to get that one, and then the bottom one to get that one. I think that was the marking scheme. Okay, so highlight those if you've got them wrong, please. Right, recording now. So the next one, it says Miriam thinks of a number. She doubles it, then subtracts 3. The answer is 57. What was her number? Really, really, really tricky if you panic. If you don't panic, it's not that tricky. A good way of doing it is to go backwards through it, to go up through it. Alright? So you go backwards through questions like this and you work it out. You go the opposite way. Alright? So the answer is 57. And we're going to go the opposite way. We're going to go the opposite way down this line here. Let me just scribble that out. We're going to go down the opposite way through this line here. So we know the answer is 57. And if we're going the opposite way to subtract 3, what are we going to do if we're going to do the opposite to subtract 3? What are we going to add to it? We're going to add 3. What's the answer? 60. So in other words, before they got to there, they were on 60. Alright? Mariam thinks of a number and doubles it. So her number is that. Her number doubled, so her number added to itself gives her the answer 60. So what number must she have thought of that when doubled gives her 60? 30. You see what I mean? It's only tricky if you panic. If you go up through it and go backwards through it and do the opposite to what she's done, you'll get to your answer. The dreaded last question. Goodness me, this must be really, really hard if they've saved this to last. That's what they're trying to make you think. It's got a workings thing, so make sure you show your workings. In other words, you could score points even if you get it horrendously wrong. You could score a point. Alright. 4 friends buy a ticket for a show. How many friends are there? 4. How many tickets are there? 4. The total cost is 72. How much would it be if there were 5 tickets? So it's a 2-step problem. First things first, you've got to find out what's 1 ticket. Then you've got to multiply it by 5. To get the 1 here, you've got to think about the total cost, which is 72. And then you've got to divide it by 4. And again, how you do it is up to you. You could do it the bus stop way, which is like this. How many times does 4 go into 7?
1.
What's the remainder?
3.
And then how many times does 4 go into 32?
8.
8. You could do it that way. Or you could realise that when you divide by 4, like the other day when I gave you a piece of paper, I said fold it into quarters. How do you do that? You fold it in half and then half it again. So if you've got 72, what's half of 72? Pardon? Pardon? 36. What's half of 36? So I folded it in half, and then in half again gives me the quarter of it. Gives me divided by 4. Clever. So that's £18 per ticket. It's quite an expensive show, isn't it? And now what have we got to do to work out the cost? Multiply it by 5. So our next one is 18 times by 5. And again, you've got different ways you can do this. You could just do 18 multiplied by 5 like that. Or you go 8 times 5 is 40. So you've got 0, carry the 4. 1 times 5 is
5.
add the 4.
9.
Good. Or you could say when we're multiplying by 5, it's the same as multiplying by 10 and then halving it. What's the answer? 90. So after all that scruffy workings out, the answer's 90. Highlight in the box here if you've got it wrong.